Welcome to Web3 Buzz, where we talk products, communities, and careers in Web3. Every week, we bring awesome people from the Web3 world and talk about what they're building and how they're disrupting products and communities with innovation and inclusivity. Hey Megan, welcome to Web3 Buzz, and thanks for coming onto the show today.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
So, Megan, can you introduce yourself to the audience? Maybe cover your professional journey in crypto, and how you came into working for Darwinia?
Sure. So my name is Megan Skye. I'm a community and a business development manager with Darwinia. I've been with the team for about a year and a half after coming out of kind of early retirement. I got started with computers and kind of IT from a very early age, about 7 years old or so, when a lot of Polkadot developers and other crypto people got into programming and that, and went on to have a very successful career in IT, doing technical support, and then moving my way up to managing data center systems, and then eventually building my own infrastructure from the ground up, which was in the early days a competitor to kind of Microsoft, Azure, and Amazon Web Services before they grew up and swallowed me up as a small fish. So I retired in 2017 and got into Bitcoin mining. And as I learned more about cryptos, I kind of migrated more into the less power-hungry, power-intensive validators and proof of stake networks versus Bitcoin, because actually one of my dreams growing up was to live off grid, and I successfully did that a few years ago. And so I had to get rid of my Bitcoin miners, and since then, I've spun up a few validators for Darwinia, and I'm also on the council there. So I've had to part with those old machines, but I'm not really upset about that. So here I am working for Darwinia as a spokesperson now, helping out with our kind of Western Canada communications and community building.
Awesome. That's a pretty amazing journey, Megan. So before starting to go into Darwinia, you mentioned that you shifted from proof of work to proof of stake networks, right? So could you elaborate on what you find are the advantages and disadvantages, or maybe the pros and cons of these two networks?
Oh, goodness. That's such a great question. Of course, it goes into so much debate when it comes to the side of Bitcoin maxis versus Ethereum being decentralized and all that kind of jazz. So, I don't have preferences either way. I think when it comes to proof of work networks, they're very useful and very secure, very decentralized. But we have to kind of move forward with reforming our banking system and financial systems worldwide. And I think to get closer to that, we have to find something that works for the majority of people. And I do believe that's more democratic systems like proof of work and a nominated proof of stake, nominated proof of stake, not proof of work. But yeah, so Ethereum 2.0 and Polkadot, etc.
Just wanted to understand on the Darwinia front, right? So what is your vision, first of all, with Darwinia?
Darwinia is really all about interoperability. Our founders, Alex Chen and Denny Wang, they've both been in blockchain for quite a long time. They were involved with BitShares back in 2013. They were one of the first decentralized exchanges. So they're very knowledgeable and experienced in the industry, and their vision from the start was this interoperability protocol, so that what we know for certain in future, there's going to be lots of different blockchain networks. I think they realized that back when they first partnered and started iterating the company that's the kind of parent company for Darwinia and Evolution Land, as well as Subscan.io, which is the popular blockchain explorer. So yeah, it's really a vision that's all about interoperability with current, legacy, and future blockchains.
Right. So, what do you see are the current problems in interoperability, right? What do you think are the challenges that are present in the current interoperability solutions, and how is Darwinia solving those?
Another great question. So the challenge, according to Vitalik, there's been some debate going on recently between cross-chain and multi-chain, and that's really kind of what it comes down to with interoperability. There's kind of kind of Mac versus PC wars going on with the cross-chain versus multi-chain. And cross-chain is really what we think of in terms of typical bridges, general bridging solutions where smart contracts are deployed to each and every chain. And then there are these kind of liquidity pools that facilitate cross-chain transactions. And the tokens they don't typically actually like move across chains with this traditional type solution. They more like just enter into one vault and then exit from another one on another chain. And where Darwinia differs is we've really taken this approach down to its fundamental levels, where we want to share consensus, share security with the chains we interoperate with. So when it comes to Ethereum, we act more like a Ethereum layer 2 with zero knowledge proofs and optimistic challenge technology. So yeah, we've approached this from a fundamentally different level, and when it comes to commenting on Vitalik's points, he sees a kind of multi-chain future as being the way to go versus cross-chain, and we really kind of agree with that philosophy.
Got it. And so you are enabling this interoperability between different chains, like L1 chains like Avalanche, Phantom, ETH, Solana, and Polkadot, and also interoperability among the Polkadot's parachains, right?
That's right. Where Darwinia network is designed as four separate networks. There's 2 parachains and 2 independent networks, and we actually operate at the layer 0 level, just like Polkadot and Kusama. But the difference is we focus on the interoperability specifically with external chains. So we want to become the primary in-out point of the Polkadot ecosystem. So our network, to use Ethereum, for example, Darwinia network acts just like a layer 2 on Ethereum, just like, for example, Arbitrum or like ZK Sync or some of these zero knowledge based layer 2 solutions. So the way our bridge works is we're actually burning tokens on the source chain and then minting them on or mapping them to destination chains. And so we can more effectively possibly be termed a router rather than a token bridge.
And so you would be communicating with different other layer 2s as well, right? Like Polygon and Optimism and all that you mentioned.
Yes, that's right. And ideally, we would like to operate as kind of layer 2s of these other chains that we're interacting with.
Got it. And can you explain a little more in detail as to why you have this, architecture of, your own relay chain, as well as you're also a Polkadot parachain, right? How does that work, both of them together? And which finality and network security are you actually relying on? Is it Polkadot's or your own chain?
So another great question. So when it comes to the Polkadot side, we have parachains, which just for reference, I'll call Crab Redirect and Darwinia Redirect. And then we have our solo chains, which are the independent networks that are going on a couple of years old now, which are kind of tried, tested, and true. So we have 2 different security zones here. We have the parachains, which are shared consensus and security with Polkadot. And so we shared that kind of common security model there. But then we also interface with our intermediate security zone, which are the independent chains. And those ones are acting more like layer twos, or quote unquote parachains of Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain and Hiko, etc., Polygon. So yes, the different networks are designed to interoperate in different ways. And on the parachains, we maintain the Polkadot security, and on the solo chains, we inherit the security of Ethereum and other layer ones we're interfacing with.
So it kind of natively takes on the security of the chains that it is actually interacting with, right?
Exactly. Our token bridge, wherever the tokens come from, they inherit the security of the source chain.
Got it. And how would you say is Darwinia different from other bridging technologies that are currently available?
So Darwinia token transfers work on a fundamentally different level. So if we think of Polkadot kind of separated into 3 or 4 distinct layers, where we have the layer 0 meta protocol on the base layer, and working up through infrastructure to the blockchain itself, and then to the application layer. Typical bridges will operate on the smart contract or the user or application layer, which is kind of the highest, requiring the highest levels of trust. And as you move further down the infrastructure layers to the layer 0 meta protocol, like Polkadot or Kusama relay chain, then of course you're getting the trustless or token routing. It's more like routing versus bridging, because those transfers operate on the consensus layer or the truth layer, just like XCM, for example.
We have bridges like AnySwap, then ChainSafe, which use external verifiers. So they add an additional layer of security over the source and destination chains. And they also, I think, lock, mint, and they also create wrapped assets on the other chains, which then provides a possibility that the bridge verifiers can probably collude and steal the funds, right? In some cases, we also see projects are using additional staking and bonding mechanisms to try add a layer of additional security for the users. But this is again a capital intensive model. So I think it all comes down to the question of who is really verifying the system, right? So in Darwinia's case, you're saying that there are no additional trust assumptions here?
Our network is broken up into actually a whole bunch of different DAOs. It's a little bit complicated, but we have our independent networks, which are kind of this independent security zone, and both of those networks have their own independent DAOs. But then we also have our third DAO, which is the Relayer network, and they're the ones that facilitate verification for our light clients. So they're a group of relayers that are aside from the hundreds of validators and nodes that we have running on Darwinia and Crab networks, and the collators and on the parachains. So there's really hundreds of different decentralized nodes that are all working together in order to make this kind of bridging or token routing possible. Whereas, just to take AnySwap for an example, they've got 5 to 11 different header relayers that are in control of, or that are handled by big entities like Bitcoin.com, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a much more decentralized model compared to our sort of more direct competitors. But within the Polkadot ecosystem, I think we're presenting a pretty unique solution. I think it's just only a handful of projects that are operating on the relay chain level. Energy Web chain is another one of those, which has Gavin Wood's support, just like we do. Edgeware is also thinking of doing their own parachain and a couple of other ones. But we've actually got a functional solution right away, which we call Bridge Message Protocol. And it's just a supplemental version of XCM that's designed specifically to work in these intermediate security zones, so that Polkadot and Kusama can talk with other layer 1 chains like Ethereum.
And you talked about light clients and using the header to relay messages, right? So using metadata and the header to relay messages. So I kind of I'm getting this feeling that it's kind of similar to XCMP in Polkadot, where the parachains also interact using that standard. Is that correct? Is there any similarity between these two?
They are designed very similar. And actually, we started working on our bridge message protocol before XCM kind of worked on their current design. And our devs also help out Parity with not only XCM, but the Parity bridge technology. And we've kind of self-funded the development work we've been doing with Parity over the last couple of years, just because we don't really qualify for grants. But yeah, our technology is actually becoming very popular with not only our competitors, but also within the parachain ecosystem. And our devs will be making some updates to XCM along with other projects like SDAR and Moonbeam that are working on that right now as soon as Crab connects to as a parachain to Kusama.
Right. But in case of Polkadot, right, for Polkadot XCM, the parachains talk the same language using the XCM standard. But in this case, since the value is transferred among different chains like ETH, Phantom, etc., in your case, how do all of these non-substrate chains understand the same language? Is there any custom integration or engineering effort required for them to be a part of the Darwinia network?
So our bridge message protocol can be implemented by chains that wish to be supported by our bridge technology by installing a couple of substrate palettes. So that's our own kind of proprietary technology. And it's our competitive advantage right now. So although we will be working with the XCM team on that protocol, we've got our own standalone production version that can connect to substrate to substrate chains right now. So yeah, we'll just be working to help improve that communication protocol. But our bridge message protocol is designed specifically to work between heterogeneous chains and Polkadot or Kusama.
Yes. So for light client based bridges, right? So one of the drawbacks that is set is that it's very resource intensive. There's a lot of effort required because there could be a lot of custom integration to be done on the source and destination chains. Is that also the case for Darwinia?
We have created a modular bridge system. So it's more like a universal bridge system that'll work with all the EVM compatible chains. And that's just, we're finishing up with the security audit right now and implementing all the recommended changes before we roll that out. But we have our own sort of universal interface for working with layer 1 chains that's quite a bit different from XCM.
Okay, so for other chains to adopt the standard or to connect with Darwinia, they probably just need to, they have something like an interface or an API that they just need to connect to. That's all is required, you're saying?
I believe so, yeah. If for substrate to substrate functionality, for example, to connect independent substrate solo chains right now, we can connect them with our bridge message protocol. That's already possible.
what would you say are the trade-offs with this kind of approach, right? Like, does it affect because there are zero knowledge proofs and this kind of complex cryptographic technologies, do you think it affects the speed of transfer, and what are the deposit and withdrawal times?
Optimistic technology and ZK snarks definitely have their drawbacks when it comes to speed of verification. But there are solutions available for instant liquidity withdrawal. So it basically just involves setting up liquidity pools on each side of the bridge, which are functionally separate from the bridge itself. So basically just abstract away the delay of half an hour or 25 to 45 minutes it takes to do a typical cross-chain transfer with an optimistic bridge like Darwinia. So we're looking for application developers to kind of, especially with our ongoing crab hackathon, to take advantage of this kind of technology and maybe set up a system like that. But currently our wormhole doesn't it doesn't have this kind of functionality built in yet, although it is certainly possible to do that.
And which chains are you connected to already, and what chains are you planning to bring in the future? So any insights on what's happening there?
As soon as our universal token registration protocol is finished audit and it's deployed on Ethereum, it'll go through just a brief window of a period of testing and production, and then we'll be rolling out to Binance, Polygon, Hiko, Tron, and Moonriver is also on the radar.
Awesome. And are you looking at only EVM-based chains or any non-EVM-based chains other than Polkadot, of course, like Solana? Are you considering Cosmos, those kind of chains as well?
Definitely, we've got other chains on our radar, but right now we're primarily focused with the EVM chains because our kind of bridge Legos will work very well with those, and we can roll them out quite quickly.
Got it. And so for Darwinia, you're primarily positioning it for only token transfer and value transfer, or you can, let's say, also move your LP positions across different chains?
So Darwinia, the architecture of Darwinia and the power of this kind of being able to route tokens around really enables, basically, it enables multi-chain routing, asynchronous multi-chain routing. So you can have a single smart contract deployed on Darwinia network, and from that smart contract, you can execute state operations or state changes on whatever chains we're connected to, and you can do those all at the same time. If you had to do operations on 4 different chains, you can send out, those operations at exactly the same time, and those when kind of applications are set up correctly in order to abstract away the delays between chains, then you can. The power of the underlying infrastructure enables kind of one-click swaps or one-click interactions that are very complex in a way that's just simply not possible with other bridge networks or bridge contracts. So something like moving, although I'm not sure the logistics or exactly how it would work with moving LPs across chains, I don't see that being outside the realm of possibility with the power of the network.
Also, something that's being talked about nowadays is complete abstraction of chains for various use cases, right? For example, maybe depositing collateral on one chain and borrowing a loan on another chain, right? Or even furthermore, deploying different parts of an app on different chains itself, and the user will not know anything as to what chain they're using at all. So that's a level of abstraction that people are envisioning. So what do you think of this, and where does Darwinia fall under this radar?
I think Darwinia has been built to facilitate exactly those kinds of complex cross-blockchain interactions. that it's just going to take the right application developer to realize the power and make a perfect user interface in order to take advantage of this.
Also, you have a game, right, or a metaverse, which is called Evolution Land. Can you talk a little bit about that? What is it, and what features it has?
Sure. So our blockchain game is called Evolution Land, and it was designed to be the first blockchain game to support cross-chain interactions. So it's a simulation game that allows players to own land and mining implements and apostles, which are characters that work the land. And we also have player versus environment and battle games. So you can play against monsters, and soon you'll be able to play against other players. And this blockchain game is currently deployed to 5 different chains. We're on Ethereum, Polygon, Hiko, Tron, and Crab will soon be launched in the next couple of months. And we're also going to be releasing a Binance Smart Chain continent as well. So we're up to ABCDEF will be the name of the next continent. Will start with F because the game is designed for 26 different blockchains, and there's 26 different letters in the alphabet. So that's kind of how we've been coming up with our naming scheme.
That is super interesting. So you're saying that the assets in the game can be kind of moved across different chains, the NFTs and all the other assets.
Yes, it's designed from the ground up to support cross-chain economies and cross-chain siege and different cross-chain operations. And we also have, because it's an open source platform governed by a DAO, anybody can build on it. So we have, a dozen or more different partners that are building within the Evolution Land metaverse. The cross-chain operations will start to roll out as we planned, 3 or 4 years ago already, coming up now in the next few months. So it's a pretty exciting time to be in Evolution Land. And the game is also currently more of a 2D type game. We've gone through 2 different versions of it, but version 3 is actually going to be fully immersive and 3D. And we're hiring 4 different developers, game developers, to help out with that right now.
Also, because you have, your team has developed this game, are you also developing any other projects, like maybe DeFi projects or any other projects?
Officially, we have the 4 different projects. We've got the Darwinia network, Evolution Land, Subscan.io, and Wormhole app, which has now become its own Darwinia ecological application. And they'll have their own DAO as well. So all of these are DAOs. I think it's only Subscan that it's managed by our parent company, Itering.
And how do you see the whole parachain strategy, right? There is a Kusama version, and then there's a Polkadot version, even for you. So what is the strategy you're looking at and the specific use cases of these 2 chains going forward for you?
So our network is designed to be kind of right from the ground up, the primary in-out point for the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem. So it is part of our vision to connect both Crab redirect and Darwinia redirect to Polkadot and Kusama eventually. And that's just to facilitate our original vision of just getting everybody connected. And once we have parachains on both Polkadot and Kusama, we'll be able to support the free flow of value and NFTs, et cetera, across, even in the current state of things, without a functioning version of XCM.
So you would have a bridge in future to connect Crab and Darwinia, both of these networks as well. That's what you're saying.
There is already a substrate to substrate bridge that connects Crab and Darwinia. So when Crab onboards to Kusama, Darwinia will automatically be connected. That bridge rolled out into production a couple of months ago already.
What is the utility of the token ring? And I see that you also have another token, Katon. So what is the difference between these two? And could you just elaborate on the utilities of them?
Sure. So our tokens, Ring and Crab, are staying true to the fundamentals of nominated proof of stake networks. They are our staking tokens that kind of they guarantee the security of the network, so which requires value at stake. So on a kind of simple level, that's basically what they're designed for, not only to support the security, but also transactions and gas, etc. But with Ring, the difference is it's also the primary currency of Evolution Land. And that's kind of where in terms of token price, where the development of that Ring token is coming from right now. It's primarily supported by the Evolution Land game and virtual land sales and other items in there, because Darwinia network itself isn't really in use right now, although it's going to be a 2-year-old network in September. There's not much happening on it right at this moment compared to what's going on with Crab. So Crab tokens are a lot more popular on our network right now. And yeah, so that's basically Ring and Crab. And when it comes to Katon, this is, so to stake on our network, you can stake for any period of time. You can bond your tokens with no time period, or you can commit to a lock time. And what we feel is when people lock up their Ring, this commitment has value. And so the value we feel should be tradable. And that's where the tokenomics of Katon come from. So Katon is a commitment token that people are able to mint as soon as they lock up their Ring for between 1 and 36 months. And you can think of it like a commitment mining token. So people can mint this Katon and then they're able to take it and either stake it or sell it for sell it on the open market right away.
So this staking is for crowd loan staking, or is it for the network security staking?
It's for the network security on our independent chains. So Darwinia and Crab both support staking of Ring and Crab tokens.
And you also won the parachain slot recently, right? So first of all, congratulations. And so what are the immediate steps after winning the slot? What are you looking at right now?
Thank you so much. We're really excited about Crab having or getting a parachain. So we're going to be onboarding in a couple of weeks, I think now. And what's involved for us is we're just basically going to be doing some cleanup and some runtime upgrades. And once Crab connects to Kusama, we'll begin helping out with the development of XCM, and so we'll be working directly with a few different projects on that and working on interconnectivity with those parachains.
Can you talk a little bit about maybe the history of Darwinia, right? How it started, and like what all did you achieve until now, and then what you're looking for in the next few months, maybe like a timeline or something you could probably explain to the audience.
Sure. So Darwinia itself was founded as a concept back in 2018 by our founders, Demi and Alex. And since then, we've worked with Parity and Web3 Foundation. Our team has won 3 Web3 Foundation grants along the way, and gone through 2 different iterations of testnets before we released our Crab and Darwinia mainnets. So we've, since inception, it's come quite a long way. We're 3 or 4 years into it now. So it's been a long journey, and we're glad to have the parachain finally. It's kind of seeing the vision come together.
Yeah, that's a pretty long journey for sure. So why do you think it took such a long time? Is it because the technology is very complex, or what do you think is reason?
Definitely. We've been working on the ZK snarks and optimistic bridge technology for basically this whole time. I mean, the cryptography behind how it works is really quite complex. But we've always stuck to the mantra that we're building, bridges of steel versus, kind of wooden bridges. And Michael Saylor would say that others are working with wooden ships, and we're building steel hull freighters. So it's just a fundamentally different kind of technology, and coming up with all the concepts of how it's going to work has been a process of evolution throughout these years. So it's really Darwinia, and Charles Darwin are built into the kind of cooked into the company and our journey up till now. It's really been a process of evolution, and the blockchain has come right along with us.
Yeah, definitely. I think the name really checks out. And what would you say are were your major milestones the past few months?
The past few months has definitely been our substrate to substrate bridge. We are the first substrate project to roll out a production substrate to substrate bridge between Darwinia and Crab. So yeah, getting that finished up and audited, and also our universal token protocol, which is very similar, is also going through that process of being audited. It's like everything has come to a sort of culmination for us starting around November 2021. It seems to be when most of the things that we're working on and been very ambitious about over the last few years we're now seeing the fruits of all that labor. So very exciting time.
Definitely exciting. And do you have any partnerships in the pipeline? Anything that you can reveal? Yeah, maybe something you can share for us?
I'm not sure what I'm allowed to reveal, but we are working with some of the more popular parachains on Kusama and Polkadot. And when we connect Crab to Kusama, we'll be working with them directly. And some of these projects have strict rules, and what we do as well about integrations and announcements. So once those integrations and collaborations are kind of solidified, then we'll be making more formal announcements about that. But yes, we've got some big partnerships coming up that I'm sure people will be very excited about once they see.
So right now in Moon River, they have launched their own XC20 tokens, right? And to connect the EVM assets with the substrate-based assets. And I think in the near future, the Polkadot's XCMP will also be released. So what do you see as your positioning in the Polkadot ecosystem after XCMP comes out? What is the additional layer of functionality that you will add with Darwinia?
Well, because our bridge message protocol is proprietary, it's going to be a supplemental technology to XCM, to XCMP protocol, and Parity would like us to integrate that so that parachains won't have to install the substrate palettes in order to get compatibility with our bridge network. So it'll kind of all be cooked into the XCM protocol, the interoperability with our chain as well as external chains. So it'll facilitate easier interoperability between parachains and our solo chains, which lead to other networks like Ethereum and Binance Smart Chain.
Got it. So you're saying that within the Polkadot ecosystem, because of the way it has been designed, it easily kind of integrates with XCMP in Polkadot and also connects with the external chains outside Polkadot as well.
That's right. Yeah, and as soon as Crab connects to Kusama, we will actually be able to connect interested chains to us right away. Whereas if they're relying on XCM alone, they would have to wait quite some time for that to actually be finished.
You already explained what is the reasoning behind your name Darwinia. So anything behind the Crab network? How did you come up with that name?
They all follow the kind of evolutionary lines. So Crab was originally ice frog, I believe. And then we had another test net called Trilobita. So we're kind of following evolution through the ages, and crab, with having all the different legs. When you look at the topology, it really iconizes what we do with Crab Network, which is it's really a bridge hub network with many different paths leading outwards, just like different legs of the crab. So I think the branding and the marketing for the project is very clever.
And can you explain a little bit about the funding of your project? How is the team funded?
Honestly, I wish I knew a little bit more about that. But from the beginning, we had some venture capital backers, and they had some vested tokens for, I think, up to about 3 years or something like that. And that's all done now. Their tokens were unlocked last year. So other than that, formally, I'm not sure kind of who's on board when it comes to VCs, but our parent company, Itering.io, seems to be well funded in other important regards. So, and our tokenomics and roadmap is stretch out long into the future, far into the future. So we have like a 5 to 10 year plan that we're fairly confident about.
And that's a solid plan for sure. And also for Evolution Land, right? You had Polygon Continent launch, and it was even mentioned in Bloomberg. Can you talk a little bit about that? What was it exactly, and what was your strategy with that?
I think it's just a natural progression of Evolution Land's direction to be deploying every so often on a new blockchain. And Polygon, when it comes to building continents with Evolution Land and building bridges to tokens, or sorry, chains we want to support with Darwinia, they're quite separate. So Evolution Land is actually considering deploying to like OKX chain and a couple of other EVM chains, which will be quite a different direction than the way Darwinia is going to go. But it was just a natural evolution, and whatever chains are popular with Evolution Land, we consider deploying to those chains just to maintain a presence. So Moon River is one that Evolution Land is heavily eyeballing right now, considering its popularity, and also projects like Moon Sama, and where we'd be able to interoperate and exchange tokens from those projects within our Evolution Land game. For example, we already have a CryptoKitty integration and also Polka Pets. So we'd be able to take, for example, swords from Moon Sama and equip our apostles with them for battle and those kinds of things. And these are all in the works.
That's super interesting. So do you think you can also connect with maybe Remark, maybe, their canarias and other birds to be used within this game as well?
For sure. Canaria birds will be equipable within Evolution Land game, just like CryptoKitties or other apostle pets. And they'll boost morale and battle or fighting ability, and also mining ability. Our networks, because we're kind of relay chain networks, we've been compatible with Remark right from the very start. And actually, we had a couple of developers that started building a project on Remark before I even knew that we were compatible with it. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool. We're interoperable with all kinds of different standards.
And also, I also see that Evolution Land is partnered with Eel Guild. So I think that's a pretty great partnership as well, because Eel Guild gives you exposure to so many different user segments, and also Eel Guild kind of trains different gamers to play on your game and metaverse, right? So I think that's a great adoption strategy as well.
We're working with quite a few different guilds, actually, and what Crystal Yang and Nick Lorenzi are working on, and Tony at Ignite Tournaments are working on over there is really exciting technology as well. And so we're thinking of some kind of integration between Ignite tournaments and Evolution Land so that players can bet on the outcome of player versus player games, et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome. And does this game also include any kind of DeFi elements in it?
It does, yeah. We were Evolution Land back in 2018 was a real pioneer of early DeFi concepts. Actually, we were one of the first games to have Uniswap, and actually we had bank core functionality, swap functionality built right into our in-game bank before Uniswap even came out. So all our players actually got the Uniswap airdrop, which we're quite happy about. But we had staking and yield farming within the game, and also GameFi features, which is basically taking a drill, for example, and you can imbue it with LP tokens. So you throw it into our GameFi furnace with a bunch of LP tokens, and you get a new NFT out of it, which is upgraded. And we have a bunch of different iterations of that where you can throw in different items and different in-game resources into the furnace, not only LP tokens, but mined resources in order to give them higher qualities or attributes. So yeah, we've had DeFi aspects and elements built into the game for quite a few years already. And before a lot of other blockchain gaming projects came out with these things, we were already doing them. For instance, like NFT staking, we had that back in 2018.
That's amazing, definitely. And also I see that it's on the NFTs are probably tradable on various platforms like OpenSea and NFT Trade, right? So all of these are ETH-based platforms, or do you have any other kind of cheaper to transact kind of platforms, maybe Polygon-based or even Singular in Dotsama?
Yes, our NFTs are available on the popular NFT marketplaces on all the different chains like Polygon and Ethereum. So on OpenSea, they support Polygon and Ethereum assets, which are just ERC 721s and 1155s. And then there's other, 2 or 3 other NFT marketplaces on chains like Hiko. So yeah, there's a decentralized NFT marketplace on every chain that supports Evolution Land objects. And there's also a marketplace within the game for those items like drills that you can't sell right now, but that will change in the future.
Yeah, I think it would also be great if you would integrate it with maybe Singular platform as well on the Dotsama. But yeah, this is amazing. So many options to trade, and especially I think on ETH, everyone is concerned about the gas fees. So just having so many options is really great.
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Megan, if you have any final thoughts that you would like to share with the audience, please share. And I had a really great conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show. I think the last thing I'd want to touch on is basically we're having a hackathon right now on our Crab network. There's over $110,000 or 110,000 USDT, I should say, up for grabs and prizes in 3 or 4 or 5 different categories. And so we've got 20 or so different projects that are registered right now, but we're hoping that some very clever developers will come in and notice these kinds of tools that are available on our network and this proprietary, very powerful bridge message protocol that allows us to communicate between chains and route tokens around. So we're hoping they'll build something really, really awesome in terms of bridging or tools or NFT projects and win some prizes.
Amazing. So yeah, Megan, it was great talking to you. Thanks for coming on to the show again. Thank you for tuning into Web3 Buzz. Follow me at Web3 Alpha Buzz on Twitter, where I post informational threads on interesting Web3 projects. If you would like to access more information about the guests, please see the episode description.